Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Richest Men in Town podcast. I'm Mike Freeman, and along with my good friend and co-host Tyler Gould, we're excited to welcome you to our little podcast project. Tyler and I are just a couple of middle-aged husbands and dads driven to live our best lives. We want to be better every day, so here we'll be sitting down with great people. Not famous people, but great people that we admire, to learn their secret to living the rich life. Probably not the rich life you're thinking of. Our guests come in humbled and surprised at the invitation and hopefully leave feeling proud and grateful, realizing just how good they really have it. So pull up a chair, stay a while, and raise a glass with us as we toast our guests to the richest men in town.
Mike Freeman, here we are back in the lab doing some work on Richest Men in Town, and it was a good night tonight with our guest, a Navy rescue swimmer, a father, just an all-around good guy, Carlos De Osambela. What were some of your takeaways tonight?
I'm just thinking your friends are like the coolest people I know. Like Carlos was, and again, I could feel people's eyes rolling. Here goes Hyperbole Mike saying, Richest Men in Town is going to go places they've never gone before. But we go places we've never gone before with Carlos.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You know, we talk about journey all the time, and journey usually implies that people have some stories of things that they've overcome, some things in the rearview mirror. And in the middle of our conversation with Carlos, he lets us in that he is mid-struggle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mid-struggle, hitting a hard reset, basically on who he is, what's the focus of his life, right? And I love the idea that I'm just going back to basics.
Yeah, I agree. It was an interesting night tonight because you're right. We talked about some things that we haven't talked about before on this show. Carlos was very open and honest about some of the things that he's working on, and he had some great advice about how to get through some of the things. You know, it's interesting, like you said. I mean, it's great to hear the success of overcoming, but sometimes it's maybe more valuable to hear how the battle's happening right now, right?
Yeah, and the voice of warning.
Yeah. Oh,
hey, be
absolutely.
careful about complacency. Be careful about sacrificing best for good.
Yeah, and let's stop being polite, right? He talks about that, and
be careful about what we're chasing.
Yeah.
Right. Turns out if we're chasing the thing and the thing doesn't give us the satisfaction that we thought it would, and then we realize we've made some trade-offs to get that thing, that's some thin ice.
Yeah. So not only do we go some places that we haven't gone before in our conversation, but this conversation was a long conversation, and we went longer than we normally do because there was so much great information shared with us tonight, right?
Yeah. You know, the funny thing is all the podcast experts, hey, keep this thing 30, 45 minutes. And we've always been like, look, we're going to get friends in here. We're not going to cut someone off to fit a 45-minute box. Well, Carlos doesn't fit in the 2-hour box.
Yeah, right.
Like the conversations that we have with him, we get into places where just to honor the spirit of courage.
Yeah.
He deserves to have his say, right? He deserves to have as much time as he wants to take. So if we're going to sit down, we're going to invite him in. We're not going to stop short and cut off his story.
Yeah. So because of that, we're gonna split Carlos into a couple different episodes and let you guys listen to him and really digest some of the things that he said. So,
and to be honest, like we could call him back. Like there were some things there.
Yeah.
That,
I felt like we could have gone a couple more hours tonight, and I'm not just throwing a number out there. I mean, there was a lot to talk about, and we.
I don't want to let I don't want to let too much into the details of how we do this show, but we're obviously on the West Coast.
Yeah.
We record at night. He's on the East Coast. And right by the time we're wrapping up, it's 1:00 in the morning over there. So props to Carlos for giving us the time.
Yeah, it was a great night tonight. I had a blast with Carlos and with you, Mike, as always. So I hope our guests really take some time to listen closely to some of the things that Carlos teaches tonight, and enjoy the lessons learned, and enjoy their time with Carlos De Osambela, Part 1 on the richest men in town. So what's new, man? What's new in the world of Mike Freeman?
Oh man.
Give me something exciting, man. Give me something that's gonna get me fired up tonight. I know I'm on pins and needles right now.
Yeah, I got nothing. Abe is a varsity basketball player, and that means he's always gone. So like every weekend he's got a tournament. So we're basically empty nesting it. Little trial.
How's that going?
Trial run.
How's the trial working out?
It's not bad.
All right.
Yeah, she's not sick of me yet. I did a little Daniel Sellers and brought some flowers the other night.
I saw that, man. You sent me that picture.
Yeah.
I was feeling like I need to do work. Yeah. That's awesome, dude.
We got to do work. So the other day I did take a day. I took a mental health day.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, I went and tracked down an old teacher.
Okay.
Yeah. So Mr. Graydon Howie was my middle school history teacher.
Wow.
And I've been thinking about this guy. And I'm like, you know what? Enough thinking about this guy. Let's go down to Red Bluff, stomping grounds, and, jump into a diner, eat some breakfast by myself.
Wow.
In the spirit journal, right? Do some thinking, some writing. And then I literally typed in G Howie because I didn't know what his first name was. Boom, popped up. Google provided the address.
Woo.
Yeah. So I go walking up to the door, knock, knock. He opens the door and I'm like, Mr. Howie, I just need you to know I was one of your students a long time ago and you mattered to me. And he's like, get in here. Let's talk. So I walked in. He's been retired 14 years. He's picked up acoustic guitar and song, learning some songs.
Yeah.
And we sat down and we talked, and he needed some context, right? Because that was a long time ago. It was like 1988. Yeah. So he needed, when and where, who were kind of the classmates that you were in. And then he's like, yeah, boom, you're on my baseball team. I'm like, absolutely, I was. It's like, yeah, you had some freckles. Absolutely, I did. You like the Seahawks? Absolutely, I did. Still do. So we sat down and chatted with him, I sat down and chatted with him and had an amazing morning, and just tried to pour into him, right? Tried to validate, tried to let him know. He did it 37 years.
Yeah, it's a long time, man.
Just want to make sure he knew that he mattered to me. I looked forward to his class. Middle school was a struggle, and any kind of highlight that you can provide in the life of a kid who's just struggling to find his way, single mom, whatever. And so Mr. Howie. So then from there, got back in the car, came back north, pulled into Redding, took it to Whiskeytown Lake, and sat on the beach at Whiskeytown Lake. Solo.
Yeah, I like
me and my spirit journal, brother.
Nice. That's good, man.
Did some check-in questions. We talked on this episode before about check-in questions and like digging deep and doing some work and kind of picturing the many different roles that we play and taking inventory. How are you doing as a father? How are you doing as a husband? How are you doing as a disciple of Jesus Christ? How are you doing as a friend, as a brother, as a son? Right. And then you start, okay, what needs to stop? What needs to start? What do you want to keep that's working? What do you want to change a little bit? So, yeah.
You did some work. I'm just curious, as you're telling this story, there's a couple things people need to realize, that if you're in a diner, because I don't think very many people, I mean, there's a few, but not many people understand what Red Bluff is. So if you're in a diner in Red Bluff, you are like in a diner it's like Americana, man.
It's Norman Rockwell, right? It's population like 11,000.
Yeah.
And literally You could sit at a diner in Red Bluff and you can learn about the beef market, right?
Yeah.
You can learn about local agriculture, local politics, right? City council people coming through.
Right. And for those that don't know Red Bluff, it is, or at least used to be, the capital of raising bulls for rodeo across the country.
That's right.
How about that little factoid? That's pretty interesting.
You know, and everyone right now is like, man, I wonder what Mike Freeman is like. And everyone's picturing me on a horse right now.
Well, you are wearing chaps. Is that what they're called?
So let's set that fact straight, right? Yes, Red Bluff is the home of the legendary Red Rock, right? Back in the Lane Frost days. If all of that is,
I don't even know
like, what is
is
this about?
Yeah, I have no idea.
You need to jump on and watch Luke Perry's classic 8 Seconds.
Okay. I have seen that.
Yeah.
It's been a
8
few
Seconds
years.
tells the story of Lane Frost versus Red Rock. Red Rock was the unrideable bull. Lane
From
Frost was gonna ride him. Birthplace of Red Rock. Boom. Red Bluff, California.
And I'm telling you, there are some nuggets that just got dropped today. People are learning some stuff right now. You know, people are furiously Googling Red Bluff.
Have you ever been on a horse, Tyler Gould?
I have never been on a horse.
I think that's on the list of a thing a guy should be able to do. You know what? We need to come up with this list. We've hinted at it before.
Yeah.
But we need to come up with a list of things a guy should be able to do.
See, now, I'm a huge fan of like Westerns and Western movies and those kind of things. And I'm always like, I love these. This guy jumping on a horse, taking off into the plains. It's amazing. But is it on a list in 2021 of things guys should be able to do?
Yes. You know why?
Tell me why.
Because of the gear.
Because of the gear.
That's right. Right? It's about the leather.
It's
about the knots you need to know. Right?
That's right there. I'm out.
The knots.
Yeah.
Bowling, half hitch, something.
I could do a square knot. I got a strong.
You got the cool
knot.
blanket underneath the saddle, right?
Yeah.
And you got the bit. You know, you don't need the spurs. Spurs are that might be animal cruelty these days.
I think the spurs. Yeah, I think if you're doing the horse, you got to do the spurs. You got to be able to walk down the road with the
walk
of the cowboy.
The walk with the ching 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 ching. Yeah,
it's a must, right?
That's a must.
I mean, now whether
I've been on a horse one time.
Okay, and how'd it go?
It was amazing. It was halftime of Super Bowl, and people were like, I was watching it at a ranch, and people were like, "You never been on a horse?" I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Let's do this." I'm like, "Let's do this."
I love it.
So I went up. I did some Crocodile Dundee on the horse, right?
Dude, that's a reference no one's gonna get. I love it. Yeah.
And that horse understood that his master was there. Let me ride him.
Now, so do you feel like after that experience, if we were in a situation where it required you to quickly mount a horse and escape,
I would be in trouble. I would be in trouble.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically you and I would be on foot running alongside.
But you know what? Here we are in 2021. The way you just phrased that question, it's got me rethinking whether it is required for a man to know how to ride a horse.
I mean, I think it's
like, I'm like, what is the situation that you would look at me and I'd be like, I got the skill to get us out of this situation. I know how to ride a horse.
We'd have to be in a very specific place at a very specific time in order to have to be able to take advantage of those skills. Right.
Yeah. Not gonna happen. I mean, it's not like Bruce Willis's character in Die Hard needed to ride a horse.
That's right. In fact, most of the characters I see in the movie have to fly a helicopter before they have to ride a horse.
Oh, you might be onto something.
So I don't know. Maybe that's something we got to take up. Helicopter piloting.
It's a lot less practical though.
It is, yeah, and it's a lot more. I think it's a more expensive hobby. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, Not sure.
A horse seems
sure.
pricey as well. It's a lot of hay.
But I can understand
involved.
if it was like the world was ending, I would glance to my right and see an available helicopter before I would glance to my right and see an available horse.
Yeah. I don't know. We could go on with this all day because I think there's a lot of things we have to consider in those two choices. but I don't know.
We got to work on this list though. We got to work on this list of things a man needs to be able to do.
Yeah. And if a bowling knot or a half hitch is one of them, I'm 0 for 2.
Well, I can't even name what I'm doing. Let me tell you this, right? We go cut a tree.
Yeah.
Here comes the test, right?
Yeah.
You got to go cut the tree,
tie it up,
throw it up on top of your car, and you have to secure it in a way that you can get the tree home.
Yeah.
Right. So I do a come along.
It sounds like something that's real. Yeah.
Like the straps, and you click.
Okay. Yeah.
I fail at that, man. I fail. Like it's sagging and Kelly does that thing. Like, shouldn't that be tight? Yeah, it should. Abe, lean on it. And she's like, no. This isn't good enough, right? It's not. I'm getting the not good enough. So yeah. I'm like, no worries. I got another bag of tricks. I pull out some rope.
Oh,
right.
Nice.
So I throw the rope across the other side. Abe brings it in, and the plan is we're just gonna bring it into the inside of the car.
Shut the doors on it.
Nice. Shut the door tight.
Yeah. See, right now I'm already doubting.
And so I got nothing.
A horse.
But I got nothing. But the tree made it.
Well, that's good. That's all that matters. I mean, look, I will tell you, I helped a friend move. I've helped a lot of people move, but I helped a particular friend of mine move. Loaded some stuff in a pickup truck, and he said, "Hey, tie this down." And right out of the gate, like I'm like, this is too much pressure. Like, you want me to tie this thing down? I wasn't a Boy Scout. I mean, I went to Boy Scouts, but I was not the best Boy Scout.
Yeah. That's impressive.
He was like, you know what? Don't worry about it. You just tie it. Do your best. Tie it down. We're going to be fine. We lost like 4 boxes on the freeway, man. And I'm like, look, the fair warning was given. You knew this was coming.
So I have this huge tree.
Mm-hmm.
We have these vaulted ceilings. So we're like, no, we're going to go to the woods and we're going to get like a 13-foot tree. We're doing this right.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is the 13-foot tree is like 8 feet wide at the base.
Oof.
Right?
Yeah.
So literally, Tyler, I have like 2 places on my couch that I can sit and watch TV without my view being blocked by the tree.
So this is like Griswold. You've got branches.
You know when he cuts the rope?
Yeah.
It's like little fool. That's what it is. Are you a real tree, fake tree?
Always real tree. Real tree. Okay. I love the smell of the pine in the house, and it just something about it, I mean, I guess you could go fake tree and just hang one of those pine tree rings off of it.
Oh no, I like it too. I like it too.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, so listen, Mike, tonight, speaking of things a man should know how to do, tonight we have Carlos De Osambela with us. Okay. Carlos is a Navy rescue swimmer. So he might be able to shed some light on some things we should be able to do.
The average Joe, though, right?
Well,
like he's got to come down to our level.
Yeah. We'll have
like I can
down.
tread water. I can give you 5 minutes. I can tread water solid 5 minutes. Right.
Yeah. I think we'd be better off with a horse scenario than a water scenario if we only got 5 minutes in us.
I would be one of the guys that is like, no, honey, we're gonna cross this, and we go to cross, and then we're the ones getting lifted out by the helicopter because.
Well, and I do recall, Mike, you and I on a fishing adventure where we attempted to cross the Sacramento River, and you ended up about 300 yards downriver and getting swept away.
I still got the scar. Brother.
I'm sure you do.
Because remember, I was bleeding. It was rough.
It was a rocky road that you took.
It's like I was chumming the water.
That was a helpless feeling watching you go downriver. And yeah.
Usually it's after a lure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh,
Usually it's like I got to go in because that's $7.
Yeah, you don't want to lose $7. Well,
why did he die? Why did he die? Because he was going after a $7
lure. He had a $7 lure. Who wouldn't do that, right?
Think of the fish one lure can catch.
That's true.
Yeah, market value.
You give a man a $7 lure and he will eat for a lifetime. I think it's something like that. Well, why don't we kick in the doors, let Carlos in here and see if he can shed some light on some things for us.
Let's do this. This.
There it is.
All right.
Hey, now.
What's going on?
Carlos, welcome to the richest man in town, man. How are you?
Hey, I'm well. Thanks, Mike. How are you?
You know what? We're learning here, Carlos. We're learning.
Yeah.
I came in pretty excited about some of my manly skills, and Tyler's putting them in proper perspective. So,
Okay,
well,
what skills
listen,
exactly?
Carlos, we were talking about. Mike asked me if I had ever been on a horse, right? And my answer is no. I have never been on a horse. And
I was trying to argue that the ability to ride a horse is on the list of a thing every man should be able to do.
Yeah, not ever. I'm not even from. I wasn't even born here, brother, and I've been on a horse. That's about as un-American as having chicken wings with fork and a knife. I'm worried about you. I'm worried about you, dude.
I'm a refined gentleman.
I don't. We're gonna get to know you a little bit more, Carlos. But so, how did a horse cross your path, and how did you convince the horse that you were going to ride it? Where did you come? Where did you have your horse riding experience?
Where did I have? So, I just like literally, or are you talking about figuratively, or
I'm talking literally.
Literally.
When did you ride a horse?
Yeah.
So it was on a date with my wife. I was like, let's ride a horse, so I didn't do it like out, let me be real. I didn't do like the real deal, like out in the wilderness and, whatever.
You did like an episode of Bachelor.
Yeah. I dated my wife for 23 years. I had to come up with crazy stuff sometimes,
Tyler, where you at? This is another episode Ricky can't listen to because you probably have horseback riding on the beach all around down there.
Yeah, there's like what are we on? Episode 84. There's really like 82 of these my wife can't listen to. To be honest with you.
Hey, the next time we're down there, we did escape room, we did Padres game. Next time we're down there, we're going horseback riding.
Yeah.
On the beach.
I miss Cali, man.
Now here's the question. Here's the question, Carlos. So Mike was making the case that a man should know how to ride a horse. And my question to Mike was, in the year 2021, is that really a skill we need to have? Because let's be honest, if we're in a situation where I got to get the heck out of Dodge,
zombie apocalypse,
am I jumping on the horse or am I getting in a vehicle? You know what I mean?
Where's the horse coming from in 2021? First of all,
that's true. We got to find ourselves. There's a lot of mystery involved.
You know what you need? You know what you need to do? You need to know how to ride an Audi. Apparently,
yeah, that's true. This is true. So, but I was explaining to Mike that you, and correct me, give me some corrections if you need to here, but you, as a career in the Navy, have been a Navy rescue swimmer. Is that correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Now, tell me.
Come up. I was like, hey, maybe we don't have to talk about the Navy today. But
sorry, man.
That's all good. It's all
2
good.
minutes in.
I'm a swimmer.
And we're like, boom, you're rescuing people.
Yeah.
You're a swimmer too, aren't you, Mike?
Totally.
Well, he does own a pair of goggles.
I have a pair of goggles, and I went once.
I went once. You went twice.
No, but here's the key. Here's the key, Carlos. You gotta mentally, you gotta talk the way swimmers talk, right? So like I got some goggles. I went once. I'm a swimmer, and eventually I'm gonna crack through, and it's gonna be like I can actually
tell yourself that enough times.
Yeah. I want to do that. I want to do that flip kick.
I mean, you want to get in the pool too, bro. What's that?
Yeah, right.
I want to do that flip kick.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm it's my trade, and I don't even do that very well. But because you're not doing flip kicks in the ocean, dude. So like, if you are, you're just, I don't know what you're doing.
So Carlos, as the man who right now amongst the three of us is has the most manly job of the three of us.
Whoa.
Look, Mike, no offense, Mike. I mean, no offense. Your job is very important, and I respect it greatly.
You can't explain it.
That's right.
You can't join the Navy without being educated first. You got to graduate.
Who builds the builders? You know what I mean?
There you go. What's the skill that we need to have? What is the skill that you think is
every man?
Mike threw out every man should have.
Yeah.
Okay.
In general, what's the skill that every man should have?
Yeah.
Every man should have on the list.
Jeez. I think this is tough, and we'll get into it as to why this is tough for me, because I hadn't figured out the whole man thing until like recently. So the skill that every man should have is I think it's to listen. Not to get too deep.
That's pretty deep.
Man, we need to listen better. I think.
Wow. That is good.
I would say listen. Yeah.
I love it.
I hate to go Family Feud, but that's like clapping good answer. Right?
And then after that, it's it's a burpee or something like that. Something cool like that.
Yeah, there you go.
Number one, I think.
Okay, but hold on. Let me dig into this answer here on the listening, because I'm with you on this. But here's my problem, right? I think I listen like a man. Like I listen with the intent to solve stuff.
Yeah.
And to fix things, when I should probably listen to understand, right? To understand needs, to understand where people are coming from. So I'm with you.
Yeah. So you guys talked about this. We want to teach. That's all we want. We just want to teach.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I got so much to learn. Like, just let me be quiet for a second. And believe me, anybody who knows this, anybody who listens to this episode and knows me, they're like, that dude can talk. Bishop,
you are in the
Bishop
right
Gould,
place.
Bishop Gould knew that. And so people are going to say when they hear that, and they're like, he said what? Listen, like this dude does nothing but talk. But you learn from what you learn from.
Well, I think that's I like the answer. I think that maybe just being aware that that's a skill that we need to develop, I think is half of it, right? I mean, now the other half is, I guess, shutting our mouths and not saying anything. But I think being aware that
that's part of the skill,
right? Yeah. That's a blind spot, right? We've talked about blind spots before on the show, Mike. I mean, maybe that's the blind spot, right? That because I do the same thing. My kids come to me, they've got an issue that they're dealing with. I've got an answer. Ready? Are you ready for it? Here we go. Are you done talking yet? Because I've got the answer. Here we go. Right?
But you didn't listen to the whole problem.
That's right. No, you stop there. I got it. Don't worry about it.
Carlos, I love this idea though, that people that know you are going to hear that answer and be like, wait, that's Carlos saying that? But like, I dig that, because somewhere in there, we've probably learned, right? And Tyler and I, we're always talking about learning through pain, or learning because we touched the stove and the stove is hot. Like every once in a while we land in these situations like, man, if I would have just listened to people in our lives, listen to God, and maybe instead of getting on our knees and praying, saying, hey, I need this, but like maybe even then, shut our mouths and listen.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is a lot of good things. I mean, this is a perfect example of it, right? RMIT there's all this good stuff being put out. And we're just, we're too busy with our lives trying to solve things. Let's take a break because we need it anyway. And let's listen to what's going on out there, and let's learn from other people's mistakes, because I'm tired of learning from mine, dude. Let me listen for a minute. Or the best way to, I think the best way to avert mistakes is often to listen to the person next to you. And in most cases, that's a much smarter, much better looking person. You guys talk about it all the time.
Absolutely.
Can you imagine if we came out with a list of everything, every man should be able to do these things, and number one on the list was listen?
Well, I think it should be number one, right?
If we asked women to put the list together, that would be it.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Right.
Oh man, I love that.
Hey, real quick, real tree, fake tree. Where you at? Christmas tree.
Oh, dude. All right, man. I'm almost 40. So I think answers change with experience. I think the notion of the real tree is where it's, that's where it's at. That's the answer I want to give you. But I got a fake tree, dude. It's got the white frost. It's, what's funny about that though, is I've converted to the fake tree thinking that it would be easier and less of a hassle than the real tree. It's probably worse. That's the crazy thing, is we look for like better all the time. And sometimes we end up with something that is worse than the original thing that we were working with. So
true. It's so true.
I'm working with a fake tree, but I'm a real tree guy. If I go back to, and I'm doing that right now. I'm kind of doing a reset. And so that's probably one of the first things I'll do is I got to switch from the fake tree, and I got to switch over to the red vines apparently.
Oh yeah.
Oh, come on. For
come
sure.
on. Yeah.
But, okay. Let me just throw this out there for a second.
Are you a
Okay.
Twizzler guy?
There's like no. There is this like, I'm a sour candy kind of guy. There's this like sour Twizzlers thing, and man, I'm not a Twizzler guy, but it's hard to get away from. Anyway. Well, I'm trying. Keep in mind, I've been spending the last couple of days like trying to catch up on Richest Men in Town. So
let me tell you on this look, trying to solve things and like go into better. I think I'm not going to that tree lot and paying $100. I'll go to the Forestry Service, give me my $15 permit, and me and my family will go off in the woods and we'll do this right, like our pioneer ancestors or something.
Yeah, dude.
Well, gas is like $4.50 or something a gallon.
Right.
We throw everybody into the Suburban. We drive an hour and a half, 2 hours, food.
Yeah.
Right. And then
$375 into this tree.
Yeah. And then the sun's starting to go down and we're starting to look at each other like Donner Party. Like we got to get a tree or we're not going to make it. And I find myself saying, man, we should have just gone to the lot.
Just gone to Walmart.
It's funny though. I think that, right, the search for the shortcut, right, or the thing that we think is going to be the fix. I think as the older I get, the more I'm trying to get back to simplifying everything. And the funny thing is, like, simplifying things is not necessarily the easiest path. Does that make sense?
Not when we've gotten all cluttered. No, because we're used to the clutter.
Yeah,
so,
you're right.
Like this, imagine, and this, I just thought about this. So we got the good thing that we start off with, and we're like, okay, let's make this better. We find that better. And what if it comes full circle and the best is going right back to that original?
Back to it.
You know what I'm saying?
Honestly,
maybe that's the progress. It's just us
so.
Realizing, dude, we should have just left it alone. We should have. That was the best option.
And that's why we're right back to, we need to learn how to ride a horse. Right back to the early transportation, Mike Freeman. You nailed it.
So can I tell you? Tyler, you can cut this section because I'm going to go kind of weird.
Okay.
All right. We can cut it later.
Okay.
But there's actually an argument that ancient civilizations that didn't have the wheel understood the wheel and chose not to have the wheel because of the endless cycle of progress.
That's interesting. Is this
right?
is this a
But
real
to Carlos's point, right? Like we in search of better, we make this progression that actually takes us further and further away from where we wanted to be. And in the end, we're right back to, like, I think of Tyler Gould, if he could have his wish, it's a beat up truck.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Column stick.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And think about how far removed that is from that dream Audi. Right.
Yeah.
But check this out, Mike. This is what I'm thinking. And I'm with you on that. First of all, I would say they should have gone for it. If they knew it, they should have gone for it.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes Dave would appreciate this. Voigtlander, he would appreciate it. Sometimes you just do it. Nike had it a long time. Just do it. Just do it. Go with the wheel. Because this is what I think happens. We have the original thing we're working with. We have to go to that better thing and then realize what the best thing is, because it's in that journey, I think, that we realize, why it's the best thing, and we can then understand and then really start, progressing and moving forward. I don't know. That's just,
I agree with that. I mean, there's some validity. There's a lot of validity to the idea that in the search of better, we have to make mistakes, right? I mean, and that's how we're refined. I'm thinking too, like, as we're talking about this, I just think like social media, if we just take that as an example, right? Connect with people that we've lost contact with, right? We've got this tool, we can connect with old friends, and it's a great thing. And here we are, like, now, after however many years of that being in our lives, we have this constant discussion in different segments of our life about mental health and the cause of this on us, right? So I'm just wondering, like, the tool is probably pure, maybe on some level, but we sort of corrupt it with.
Yeah, the original intention was probably there, but who knew that all the world's intelligence could make people dumber and less connected, right?
That's the irony of it, right?
That's the irony of our age.
Yeah.
In an era of connectivity, we've never been more disconnected. And some would argue, this technology of connecting old friends, it's called a phone book and AT&T.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly,
we had it the whole time.
Right.
But now it's just a Trojan horse, because with that promise of connection comes a whole lot of garbage.
Well, the problem is not that I don't think that it comes with garbage. I think we create the garbage. I think the problem is we do not give ourselves enough time to catch up to that new way of doing things. And so we end up putting in a bunch of garbage. But if you think about it, if we stuck to the original intent and did some of these things in moderation, the way it was intended, and because it is a good tool, man.
Yeah,
right.
I'd be the worst friend without Facebook.
Yeah.
And guess what? Right. It's Mike's birthday, and now I look cool because I'm like, dude,
yeah. Like, I'm thinking about Mike all the time.
Yeah, dude. So I think that we kind of do it to ourselves. We don't, we in moderation.
Maybe there's something to. I kind of feel like over time, when we have, and I don't want to beat the drum of social media too much, because it is a good tool, and there's a lot of good things.
By the way, listeners can check out our.
Yeah, please connect with us on social media, please.
Rich has been in town. Please it, follow, subscribe.
Yeah, please give us your email address.
If you guys aren't on TikTok yet, you're behind.
Not yet, but I think that there's this with any of these tools or these new things, they sort of start to erode our boundaries, and boundaries start to go away, and we're in this weird space where we feel like, oh shoot, I can say whatever I want, because I'm not in front of anyone. I just type it in there and chuck it out there, and there you go. You know, there's no boundary. There's no thought of, you know, how will my words affect someone else? You know what I mean? Like, if I'm in a conversation face to face and Carlos says something I don't really like, I'm probably not going to be like, Carlos, man, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Right. I'm going to say, hey, you know what? We can agree to disagree or whatever it is. Right. We're going to have a conversation about it. I just think there's a weird deletion of boundaries with some of these things.
I also think I could be totally off, but, and I don't know where this is. You guys could look it up for the notes or whatever. Something like 70% of communication is nonverbal or / digital, right? How much do we miscommunicate because we're typing it in? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I think it goes back to, again, we're not catching up to it and keeping it within its boundaries, like Tyler, like you were saying. And I think that when you miss out on 70% of what that person's trying to say, you're gonna miss the intent. You're gonna miss the purpose behind what they were trying to say, and you're gonna misconstrue it to your own agenda. And it's just, there's a lot of miscommunication going on.
You know, so, for years, I love to type in all caps. You know what I mean? I just love it. But apparently that's yelling at people.
Why are you yelling at me, dude? Yeah. And you guys, I love that you guys have talked about it a lot. And I don't know if this was, I don't know at what stage this was in you guys were on this trend. And I don't know if you guys have done it lately of talking about kindness. We're also just not kind enough anymore, man.
Yeah.
We're so detached that we've kind of moved away from just the decency of kindness.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that's part of us not, one thing I don't miss about LA and San Diego and living in Cali, I'm in small town now, so it's totally different.
Well, hold on. Let's talk about this small town, Carlos, because you're like an hour and a half away from Sister Grace Freeman in Pottsville, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, man.
Where are you coming to us from?
She's in Pottsville, you said? She's
in Pottsville.
Dude, I was in Pottsville about 43 minutes ago. Sorry, dude. Anyway. So
crazy
for work.
That's rough.
I know, man. I'm sorry. So I'm in a small town called Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania. It's about an hour north of Harrisburg, if anybody even knows where that is. That's the capital of Pennsylvania. And then we're about 15 minutes away from Bucknell University. And I'm about 3 hours west of New York. It's just small. It's central Pennsylvania. Williamsport is about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour away. So it's a small town. And what I was going to say is what I don't miss about Cali is you could, and talking about detachment and just not being kind anymore. You could, in Cali, at least the way places where I grew up, you could live next door to somebody for 15 years and not know them, Yeah. Here, I'm telling you, we the first day we got here, people knew who we were, partly because we expanded the Latin community by 5. But so they were probably being cautious, dude. But everybody knew who we were. And then within 24 hours, we had a basket of fresh fruit and bread and all this stuff, that never happened. I lived in, California, my whole life, and that never happened. So
it's funny because we were talking about Americana, right? And Norman Rockwell, like that's that small town America where, new family moves in and you get the welcoming committee.
Yeah. I love it. And so, everywhere we've gone, we've tried to create that, but it's not natural anymore. It's not an innate thing that just happens. When we lived in Eastlake, when we first moved to San Diego and Tyler became my bishop, we moved to a nice little, it was beautiful. I couldn't believe I lived there. I didn't feel we even belonged on that street. First thing we did though, is we did a block party. And we got to know every single person because awesome. I need you to know how to get a hold. I need you to know me so that if my kid, is skateboarding and breaks his leg in front of your house, you can, or whatever,
Right.
But that's that idea of it takes a
why.
village, right? It takes a village. And when we're all in silos,
Yeah.
We've talked before about not, the old way of the community raising a kid. And if you saw another person's kid and they were being a knucklehead, you could be like, hey, right.
Right.
Hey guys, right.
Now
straight,
you're worried about offending somebody or
yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, there are folks in my neighborhood that they'll hit the garage door closed before they'll open their car and leave the car.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Open door, drive in, closed door, then they'll get out of their car. It's like,
yeah.
You really limit the interaction.
They go from one screen to another, man. They go from the screen in the car to the screen in their hand.
Yeah. It is crazy.
I should probably put some fruit baskets out there, right? And be proactive.
Cook some brownies, do something, man. Just
do a
get
block
out there.
party.
Honestly, I think a fruit basket is the most disarming of things that you could possibly do, right? I mean, if someone leaves other stuff on your porch, you're kind of like, a basket of fruit? I mean, what are you going to do? You're just going to be like, it's amazing. It's amazing.
They better
no matter what.
They better get the right kind of apple, though. You know what I mean?
I don't know. If you're in California, somebody's going to find a problem with it, man.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm like a big Cali hater now. I love Cali. I love it.
Well,
Mom, I love you. Sorry. But I'm just, it's just that's the kind of place we're in now where we're just so hyper. We're quicker to be offended than we are to be kind.
My daughter came home from her mission, and one of the things she, I was asking her some of the things that she learned as a missionary, and she said, always assume positive intent, right. But I think though, going back to your comment about kindness, I think that belongs on the list, right? I mean, I think there's something about a person that is a good listener and a person that makes people feel loved and accepted. Like I think that's got to be on the list, man.
Or even just the do no harm, right? Control your tongue, like control your emotions. I mean, you may have unkind thoughts, but
all the time.
Breaks,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, but I care about people too much to tell them sometimes.
Yeah,
right.
You don't need to tell me that my t-shirt's ugly, right? I don't need to just roll with it.
I want to go back to that. Not your ugly t-shirt, but you said
we can always talk about that.
So the idea, I love the idea you guys shared about and I don't know what episode it was, but you guys shared the idea of, and I think it was Alan Michael talked about, don't add to anybody's plate. They have enough, dude. Believe me, they have enough, and that's another cool thing about listening to the show is all these people that you guys have talked to. And there's a ton of them that I actually know, like Alan Michael. I don't know if he remembers. And if he listens to this, dude, I remember beating that dude on the tennis court. Like that guy was awesome. He had so much energy. I love that. And I've been following that guy. And then, I mean, there's all kinds of great people on the show. And I just really enjoyed learning from them. And then there was this common theme of kindness. And I thought it was awesome because that is definitely one of the manliest traits.
I think it's a lost skill these days.
Lost art. Yeah. It's like chivalry. It's almost dead, but I don't think it's dead. It's just underperformed.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's dead. I think it's underperformed. Yeah.
And it's on us, right? It's on us to step it up. It's on us to turn that up a little bit in our lives and inspire other people to do the same thing. So, if we can get guys like Carlos on and jump in for a couple of hours, then we got to do what we got to do, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that's, this is what I love about what we're able to do here tonight with spending some time with each other is that, there's not enough conversations, in my opinion, happening where we just talk about what's important, right? Like what is going to build a community, what's going to, help our families be the best that they can be, right? What's going to help us be the best version of ourselves. I mean, there's just so many, and then, do we need to know how to ride a horse? I mean, these are all things
we're going to keep going back to that, dude.
But
Like,
I
listen,
think, I think it actually ties into something Carlos just shared about the kindness. And when you're carrying a load, it's really hard to be others minded.
That's true. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
When you're in it, it's really hard to be like, yeah, I wonder how my neighbor's doing.
I'll tell you what, though,
you're dealing.
One thing the Navy taught me, and I'll give them credit. When you're dealing with your load, at least in my experience, when I've dealt with some of those loads that I didn't think I could handle, the best way to get through that is to turn to your buddy and make sure he's okay, right? Turn outward, and then you'll be surprised what you can carry, man. You'll be extremely surprised of what you're capable of when you stop worrying about your own load and you start caring about the guy next to you.
And that is so counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So counterintuitive. Like, hey, you're struggling, man. Head down, grind through it.
Yeah. Keep in mind, Mike, that we know, we should already know that that's counterintuitive, because we're all being run by this thing in between our ears that is designed, biologically designed to keep us alive. Yeah. Right. And so if we've got a roof over our head, we've got food, we've got everything we need, our brain is like, cool, we don't need to do anything else. It's all about me, conservation, making sure we're good. Outside of that, it's like, dude, why are you doing push-ups? We don't, we got food right here. We're good. Our brain is the laziest thing. I think it's called The Power of Habit is a good book. It's a short read. It's quick. But our brain is ridiculously lazy, and it's very, very selfish. If you're done doing what you need to do to get what you need, let's rest. Why do we need to do anything for anybody else? So if we already go into things knowing that, then we're prepared to do the things that are uncomfortable, because everything is counterintuitive when it comes to other people. Yeah. Right. But that's the key to really getting through all your stuff is turn outward, and you'll be surprised what you can do.
Yeah, you got to overcome that natural man.
Absolutely. Exactly. That's the exact phrase.
That lizard brain, that amygdala, just because the brain is constantly scanning for bad guys.
Yeah.
Right. Constantly scanning for threats, constantly scanning for, it loves patterns of consistency, right? It loves to get in this rut. And it's like, don't talk to that person. Why are you talking to that person? That person doesn't, it's like, I'm talking to that person because that's the Christ-like thing to do. I'm trying to be a disciple here. I'm trying to love other people, right?
And you could probably cut this part out too. I'm gonna get a little weird. I just had a thought, like the brain might be just part of the design. Really the part that really has where our inheritance comes from, where God is our soul and our heart. But the brain is probably just part of it. It's like everything else. It's part of the atoms and elements that make us who we are and everything. But the brain is not helping us out when it comes to being the best. It's basically keeping us at bare minimum. This is where you can survive and live and everything like that. But if you want to be somebody and do something great, you got to go beyond that. That's why all these great people in life, I think, were considered so weird and out there. They were anything but normal and intuitive. They were outliers.
Outliers.
Right. So
that's an interesting thought. I mean, I'm curious how that, I think that, Mike, you talk about the natural man. I mean, there's this commitment that we have to make, right? To fight against that on a regular basis. I mean, I think that if we allow ourselves the opportunity to kind of quiet the noise, and, I love, Mike, you talked about sitting on the beach out at Whiskey Town and just kind of writing in your journal. I think if we allow ourselves those opportunities, and in those opportunities, we're being purposefully introspective, or we have those check-in questions. I think when we start to align some things, I think there is a lot of fighting internally about, what I should do or who I should be or how I should act and all these other things. But I think if we're intentional about the introspection or the self check-in, then I think that we can kind of start to align some things up, right?
And our voice to that, like Carlos was saying, you're giving voice to that soul.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike Freeman, there's something inside of that body that needs to be listened to.
And then I think our outward actions start to line up with our internal, belief system. Right. Yeah. And it's not, because think about it, we drive down the road and someone cuts us off in traffic, what are we going to do? I'm going to wave, whatever. We're going to express our frustration on however we do that. But the reality is, I think that if we're intentional about searching ourselves, I think that we become a little more aligned with what we want our actions to be, right? Because I think in the quiet time, we go, okay, this is how I want to be. This is how I want to be. But then we step outside and we got the flood of everything that comes in and we go, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to let this guy have it. He cut me off. This guy.
I was talking to somebody the other day. He had a situation. He was filled with hate toward this individual. And he was about to lash out in hate to this individual. And right before he did, he literally heard a voice that said, "What makes you think I don't love that person as much as I love you?"
Yeah. and we talked about this a few weeks ago.
It's worth, right? It's worth.
Yeah. I think it's identity. Like when we start to understand our eternal worth or our identity, then the miraculous consequence is that we see other people for their true identity, right?
Yeah.
And then we treat them as such. Now that's a battle.
But you got to zoom out. You got to zoom out to have that conversation.
Absolutely.
Right. If you're in it and you're seeing the trees and you can't see the forest, and it's like, it's really easy. And you think about it, those messages are really soothing, right? It's soothing to the natural man. Fear, hate, right? Like Carlos was saying, overall, our general disposition is probably pretty lazy.
Yeah.
And so and so the things that Jesus Christ came to teach are a higher law. It is more difficult to love a stranger, pray for somebody that's persecuting you, right? That's difficult. Yeah. Quit when it gets hard. That's easy. But the Holy Ghost has never told us to quit. Right? Never said, this is too hard at this point.
I don't want to forget some of the stuff. Tyler, you said some key words that stuck out to me. Because you were talking about how, I don't know if there's enough of these conversations going on. And I'll be honest, man, I don't know that that's the problem. What I think is the problem, and not to take away from how awesome this show is and how essential it is to for us to have this platform and this all these teachable moments. But I think it's more about because you said noise. You used the word noise. It's only noise a lot of times because we don't do anything with the information, right? So there's probably enough conversations going around within your realm of influence, and you're just not doing anything with it, right?
Yeah.
You kind of hoard all this information, you take it in so that you could do a really cool blog post, or you could do this or that, but then you don't put any action behind it.
Yeah.
Right. And so it never becomes you. It's just something that you know. It's something that you know, but it never becomes part of who you are because you don't put action behind it. And so I think that's where we're falling short. Is we're having plenty of conversations. I think there's a lot of small talk. I loved it. You guys were talking about one time about how it takes us forever to get there. But I do think that we get there enough. I'm not going to, for me, no, I know better. and I'm just not doing enough. Right. I think it was Elder Ballard had a talk, Diligent and Concerned at Home. And he talked about stop nuking it. Kiefer will appreciate that term, nuking it. It's basically, it means in the Navy, it means to overthink things, right? Stop nuking it, trying to come up with new ways of doing things. Just do what you already know is right. Just do the things that you've already been taught. And I think we'll be better off.
Okay. So here's the question though. How do we do that, Carlos?
Just do it, Nike.
How do we do it? Because there's always going to be the argument that it's easier said than done, right? So how do we get to a place where we are committed to the application of that? Because I agree with you 100%.
Right. Yeah. So you guys have alluded to it. I think Mike, you said something about it. And I forgot who did this. Ben Franklin, one of those awesome dudes, would just pick one thing.
Yeah.
And just do it. And once it becomes part of you, okay, now let me get that next thing now, because if it's like the bystander syndrome. If there's too much going on, nobody does anything. Way too many options. Pick one, dude. Just pick one of these good things. Start doing it tomorrow, today, if you can.
Yeah,
right?
That reminds me of something. I was studying up on some Kobe Bryant, right?
Yeah.
And Kobe came out and he felt behind, right? He felt behind. He didn't feel like he had the athleticism that these other guys did. So he literally said, basketball is going to be a part of my life. I'm going to play the long game, and I'm going to pick one skill, master it. I'm going to pick another skill, master it. So that, right now you're ahead of me, but in 5 years, I'm past you.
Well, what was the conference talk? The aggregation of marginal gains.
Yeah.
Right. It's the 1%.
1%.
Right.
That's such a trendy word, right? Yeah, but it's true.
Yeah. Right.
It's true. And now I can't be, not only did I pass you, now I can't be beat because nobody else is doing it. Not enough people are doing it. And that's why he was so good at what he did.
Yeah. I can't remember who was talking about Kobe Bryant. A teammate of his said, when I got to the team, I made a goal that I would be one of the first ones up and in the gym. So he said, I set my alarm clock. I went to the gym, I had all my gear, and there was Kobe sitting on the bench, already drenched with sweat. He had been there for like 2 hours. Right.
Right.
So,
but I think that
outwork me. That's what he would say all the time. You're never going to outwork me.
Yeah. I think that the challenge though, is we do have many roles in our lives. So again, sometimes the tendency is to sit down and you get flooded with the things that you're not doing. So your list becomes the things that you're not doing versus like, no, pick one thing.
Right. But also don't just pick one thing, pick something that's because some of these things that we're talking about, the fundamental things, the basics, if you pick one, it's going to make you better at everything you do.
Well, and they're value added, right?
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely. They're compounding. And I think President Monson said it best. He said, we get so overwhelmed with the thick of thin things. Right.
Yeah. Right.
So, we do have a lot of going on. I get it. We all do. Yes. Great. But what are the great things that I can choose from and make mine? And dude, all the other things, again, it's prioritizing and just doing it. We overthink things,
Okay. So I'm loving this conversation. And you said something earlier when we started talking, Carlos. You said, I'm in the middle of a reset. Right. You said this is kind of where I'm at. Yeah. So you're speaking my language. I'm buying what you're selling. I'm on board, right? 100%. What I'd like to know is, and you can tell me, we can cut this out too, because this may get weird. I don't know.
No, man.
That might be the title of the show. We can cut this.
Yeah,
you should only keep the parts in that we said we should cut out.
Yeah, that's true.
Everything else out. That's good.
Yeah, well, that's why our shows are so long, because most of it should be cut, right? So, well, no, but I'm curious, what what is the cause of this reset? And let me just throw that there for a second. Let that kind of marinate for a second. And what does the process of a reset look like?
Okay. The cause of the reset.
And again, I give you the right to say, shut it, Tyler.
Right. No.
Okay.
So, okay, I'll start off with can I start off with, because if I tell people who I am, that'll help me.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I said before, I think I said, I'm almost 40. So I'm a 39-year-old, father of two beautiful girls. Well, I guess Stephanie, she's a grown woman now. She's 22. And then my youngest is 13, Samantha. And I have one son, and he's 18, Sebastian. These are three individuals that I respect and admire. I respect and admire each of them for how awesome they've chosen to be. They're just, I think that's why I got invited, to be honest with you. It's because of it's because of what they, people think I had something to do with it. And so apart from being their father, I guess you could say I'm a wayward member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And then I'm also about just under 3 years from retiring from the Navy. And the reason that my intro will tell you about what the reset is 3 years ago, that intro would have been totally different, because first in my life, number one in my life was, I would have said, hey, I'm a 39-year-old dude. I'm married to an awesome woman named Wendy, and we have 3 kids, and so on and so forth. Right. Dude, I can't tell you, when you guys asked me, hey, just in case, make sure you got, some kind of intro. Dude, that was the hardest part of this whole thing. Is one thing I love about RMIT is that it allows us to take an inventory, not just the guests, but the listeners too, right? Because you listen to all this stuff and you're like, man, where am I in that? How am I doing in that? And so you guys had me at intro. I was like, dude, I don't even know who I am. Like, I'm a totally different dude. And so the reset is, Wendy and I met when we were 15 years old. Absolutely the best thing that could have possibly happened to me. And for 23 years, we grinded it out. We were, and Tyler, you know what that looked like. We were together, last time we were we were doing well. People would look at us like, man, these guys, if they didn't know, if they were new to the ward or something, like these guys are newlyweds. Like, look at them, they're in the front row, they're hugging all the time. That was us 20 years going strong, and we filed for divorce earlier this year. So that's the reset. That's just cut and dry. That's the reset. And if you can, one of the common threads along all of your episodes, 83 episodes, was that you guys are pretty cool. Tyler, I love you.
I like this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, you're really cool too, man. And because I've listened to enough episodes, I'm going to treat you like I know you. And you guys are cool, but you're not nearly cool on your own, right? And so what I want to kind of, the picture I'm trying to paint for you, and the reason this reset is more of a, geez, man, that's an understatement, is because imagine for a second that the best part of you is taken away, right? What do you do with that? The last episode that I listened to before I came on was the episode with Dan. Is it Dan?
Dan Funk?
Funk. Yeah. That dude was awesome.
Yeah, he's a legend.
You know it was more awesome though, Mr. Funk. Oh man. Not more awesome, I should say. He's just, anyway. So that's been ripped apart for me. And that was my identity. And that was in a way that was part of the problem. Not so much that you shouldn't love that deeply and that awesomely, but you can't lose yourself in it entirely, because the most important relationship in your life needs to be with God. In my mind, my relationship with my wife was I always same thing. Like if I love Wendy, then I love God, and it was very intertwined. Right. And so if that falls apart, now where are you? Right. And so now I'm in a place where I'm mad at God. I'm mad at, just everything. Right. And it's so I need to hit a reset. And when I'm in that place and I'm thinking about where I am, because you have to take inventory. First thing you do when you get hurt or something happens to you and you go down, take inventory. What do I still got going on for me? Where's my cuts? What am I doing? And so when I take inventory, I realize, dude, I had this huge gaping, cut between God and I didn't have the relationship that I needed to with my Heavenly Father. I mean, that's what it really came down to.
Carlos, can I ask about that for a second? I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
When you're looking at that and you're coming to this conclusion about that gap or that the gap in that relationship, how does discovering that look? I mean, is that something that you just wake up and you go, gosh, this is missing? Or is this in reflection on throughout your current situation?
I think it's a lot more of a physical and emotional realization. If you have the kind of relationship, if you know who you are as much as I do, and I thank Elder Bafilio and Elder Johnson for that. They were our missionaries when we were investigators. Now that I know what I know, it's a lot more painful than just saying, man, I didn't have a good enough relationship with God. It is visceral. It is, and it's a tough thing. And what I'm doing now is trying to figure out how to do it right, and how to kind of be the person that I was teaching my children to be. One of the things that I always talk about is being a parent. It's almost like a free pass to hypocrisy. I've spent my entire 23 years of parenting, teaching them what I wasn't, unfortunately. I think a lot of the people on your show are doing it right. I was just.
I think we're all in that club. I think we're all in that club.
Yeah.
But so
at any time, Grace or Abe could turn to me and play that card, and it's accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to, and when I talk about it being painful, and visceral and emotional and it broke me down, man. Like, I won't go too far into it, but, so I spent the last 3 years, I just got back two and a half months ago. I spent the last 3 years overseas. And while I was out there, I remember just being at my lowest, and, believe it or not, Wendy was, the one that put it in perspective for me. Because one of the problems I'm having with resetting and reigniting this new life that I'm supposed to have, is is starting up that relationship with God. But the problem is I don't feel worthy of that relationship because of all the things. When you create distance, the crazy thing is when we go through hell, we create distance with God when we need to really bring it in, but when you create that distance,
and he's not moving.
He's not moving. That's why I said we as dummies create a distance because, and for a ton of reasons, I think the adversary has a play in that. But we create this distance, and now I'm like, well, I can't even go back to him. I'm so far removed. I've created so much distance. It's embarrassing. There's so much shame involved in coming back. And dude, I'm telling you, Wendy put it in perspective, and she said this. She said, and you can, on the notes, you can quote Wendy. She said,
that'll be a first.
Well, yeah. What? And you know what? Just for the sake of things, she hasn't officially changed her name yet, so you could put Wendy De Osambela. Anyway, she get a kick out of it. So, what wouldn't you forgive, or do for your son, right? What wouldn't you forgive or do for Sebastian? And right away, I was like, dude, that's my dude. You could come up with anything. I'm never turning my back on that dude. I don't even want to talk about the things that I would forgive that kid for. Mm-hmm. There's nothing. And she said, well, that whatever you would do, like God's next level, when it comes to how much he loves you. And so she just said, you stop that, dude. Like, and I think there was an episode where you guys talked about that's why that's part of this divine design is we are put down here in such a way that we have examples of exactly what we're supposed to model. Right. Mm-hmm. I don't know the verse, but the task is, I think it's 3rd Nephi, even as I am. That's what we're supposed to be. That's the bar. Okay. Yeah. And in order to do that, you need to realize who you are. And I forget. It's easy to forget that we are literally, and that's what sets us. I think that's what sets my faith apart from any other time where I've always been a Christian. But that's what sets my faith apart is when I got the fullness of the gospel kind of just thrown at me, I realized, dude, I am literally his son. More than Sebastian is mine. Matter of fact, Sebastian isn't even my kid. Sebastian's his. He's just on loan. But the way I love that guy, God loved me way more than that. So this reset is probably a lot easier than I'm making it out to be. I
think that relationship that you have with your son is a powerful example, and it's two ways, like you just touched on, right? Yeah. What wouldn't you do for your son? But the second that we learn or remember our identity as children of heavenly parents. I was listening to somebody the other day, and he was bearing his testimony that we're children of God. Yeah. And he said, there's nothing I wouldn't do for my mother. Right? Like, think about it, like, so your role as a dad. Yeah. But what we wouldn't do for our earthly parents, how can we apply that to our faith and do those things that he's asked us to do? Right. It works both. It works both ways.
And dudes, I'm just going to throw it out. Sebastian isn't even my favorite, right? Samantha. So I'm just mentioning Sebastian because son, father, son.
Right. Sure.
Let's take whatever information we can get from these. And I'm telling you right now, the times that I've learned the most is when I'm in this kind of situation.
So, well, Carlos, I gotta ask this question. I gotta ask this question, and this might give me monologuing a little bit. So reel me in. But I am curious to know how you are so honest with yourself. Because here's the thing. There's a tension. Tyler alluded to that wrestle, right? There's a tension when we're falling short of what we know we could be. There's a tension to either lower our vision or lie about our reality. And we don't like that tension. And so those temptations are real. We can either say, eat, drink, be merry. I'm not a son of God. Who's God? Forget all of that. Or I can be like, oh no, I'm good, and lie to ourselves about our current standing. So how is it? And thank you for sharing. And I feel your raw emotion. How is it that you didn't listen to those two polar forces and you actually embraced where you're at and jumped into this reset process?
So, I don't know. I don't have a full answer for that. Cause, one of the things that I've learned to do is just, sometimes you just got to jump in head first and do put everything you got, burn your boats. Right. And that's another good book. The Boys in the Boat. You guys read that one? It was good. I think that it doesn't get me anywhere to, if anything, it sets me back to lie to myself. And that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. Like lie to myself to comfort, and the comfort is fake, where am I going with that? Nowhere, dude. There's no progress. Pain is gain. You guys talked about that, right? So I'm about it. I'm about, and when Tyler was my bishop, he knew, like, I'm the first to rat myself out. I can't handle, I just can't handle being, because I know that, I guess that's my answer to that is, the reason I'm so honest with myself is because, it's kind of like that. Have you guys seen the First Vision video on YouTube? I don't remember what it's called, but it's like the most recent one. And at the end of the video, he says, I knew it, and I knew God knew it, or something like that. I might have missed it a little bit, but you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So like, really, dude, like, what is the point of me, trying to use any of the energy that I have, any of the limited energy that I already have, lying to myself, when I know better, and I know that he knows. So let's just get through it. Let's just figure out, just bring on the pain, and let's get through it. Winston Churchill, this is like my mantra for the last couple months. Winston Churchill, when you're going through hell, keep going. Keep going, dude. Like, don't linger. Yeah. Keep going.
Don't linger.
Yeah, dude. Like, what are you doing, man?
Well, for the listeners, I just want to point out, I love how black and white and how crystal clear that is in your mind. I can tell you right now, there are people that struggle and lie to themselves.
But and I agree, Mike. But I think that at some point, and maybe we've all been there on some level, right? Where we've told ourselves whatever that lie is, and we get to a certain point down the path, and we realize that this thing is unsustainable, right?
We don't get to that point without being dummies. Like, right. I am not smart. Like, I wouldn't be here in the first place.
You can put lipstick on a pig, right? But at the end of the day, it's a pig. Right. Like, I've got this pig, and I'm trying to pass it off as something else. But eventually, we got to face it. And I really love how you're facing this, Carlos. I think it's interesting.
Don't get me wrong. So there's I love the analogy you guys use about tiny hinges.
Make sure to join us next week as we continue our conversation with Carlos De Osambela on the richest men in town.
Good idea, Ernie. A toast to my big brother George, the richest man in town.